Have you ever thought about starting your very own podcast, something regarding writing or self-publishing or being an indie author? Well, today we're going to talk about some of the things that you could start thinking about first before you actually start your podcast. Hello, my name is Tanya and welcome to my writing realm. If you haven't been here before, feel free to take a look around.
Yes, because there's a lot of shit to see. Come on, take a look around. I know you want to.
There's a lot of benefits to starting your very own podcast, especially for your writing and author business. Number 1, it can open you up to a wider audience. Number 2, you can network with other authors and writers, and you can even meet people to do special interviews. Number 3, if you talk about your process and your writing with others, there is a chance you could find more interested readers, which are other writers. Number 4, there are monetizing opportunities that you can take advantage of by having your own podcast. So how do you get started in thinking about what you want to do for your own podcast? One of the very first things that I feel you need to do is to listen to other podcasts. You may already be listening to a podcast and you love it, but you're not really sure if that's what you want to do. Find some other writing and author podcasts that interest you and take a real good deep dive listen to it. Some of the podcasts that I recommend is The Creative Pen with Joanna Penn, Six Figure Author, and Writing Excuses. Now there are some more that I've listened to, but those are probably my top 3 favorites. Now when you listen to these podcasts, I'm not saying do exactly what they're doing. In fact, you need to find a whole new take on a podcast for yourself. Why? Because nobody wants to listen to repetitive information or repetitive structures and formatting. There's a few things that you need to plan out. But if you spend some time listening to other writers and authors' podcasts, you can take notes. Take notes as to what you loved about it, what you hated about it, what you could see yourself actually doing on your own podcast, and what you want to completely stay away from. It's really important to find what you're comfortable with, what you enjoy, and what you could see yourself actually doing. For example, Joanna Penn normally starts her podcast with her intro, talking about what episode it is, talking about what she's going to share over that podcast episode. And then she goes into the news update, whether it be on software or sales volumes for indie authors, how Barnes & Noble's doing. A lot of it is related to the business of being an author. And then she goes into, normally, some type of a topic or interview with a special guest. And these podcasts can take over an hour to listen to. Where if you listen to the Writing Excuses, they are like 20-minute shows, high energy, fast paced. There's multiple people on every show, and all of the topics change and are very exciting and interesting. I myself have a podcast, and it is called Tanya's Writing Realm Podcast, and I chose to do something a little bit different. So that's something that you could do, is in addition to finding out what would work for you, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, try something that none of them are doing.
Yes, because it is super important to be yourself and find something that you're comfortable doing. So don't copy everybody else's podcast. Yeah, be you. Do what you enjoy. Talk about what you want to talk about. You don't want to do interviews? Don't do interviews. You like interviews? Fine. Do some interviews then. Whatever you want to do, that's what you do. You're welcome.
Now, the second thing that you should do is come up with a unique name. Come up with a name that identifies what your podcast is about. Make it catchy, make it quick and short. Now, I chose the Tanya's Writing Realm podcast, and that way I can kind of brand myself as the Tanya's Writing Realm, and regardless of what type of social media I am on. So whether it be Facebook or Instagram or on a podcast, streaming app, or on my YouTube channel, wherever you find me, it is the Tanya's Writing Realm name. Number 3, try to plan out what you want to do for your entire layout, your intro, how you want to label or identify each individual episode. Are you going to actually say, this is episode 2? Or are you going to say, this is the self-publishing episode, or this is the character development episode. How are you going to identify, label, number, or sequence each of your podcast episodes? Then you got to figure out your layout. Are you going to be doing interviews? How often are you going to be doing your podcast? Really sit down and make a good, solid structure, because you don't want to have every episode completely different with no structure whatsoever, because nobody will ever know what to expect from you. So you want to have a set intro. You want to have a set template for how you name your podcasts, you sequence your podcasts. And then you got to stick to your plan. The next step, which I believe we're at step 4, is that then you've got to figure out how you want to record it, because this will help you determine which podcast host you're going to use. Now, in the future, we are going to talk a little bit more about podcast hosts. Podcast hosts. I've always had a hard time saying that.
Yes, because she made so many mistakes. She's got a lot of tips for you.
Whatever, I'm ignoring you. Go away, Maggie. I'm busy. So if you do decide to check out the Tania's Writing Realm podcast, there is a playlist on my YouTube channel for the podcast, but you can also find it on many other podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, so many more. I'm also interested in hearing your feedback. Like, what do you think of the Tania's Writing Realm podcast? Is there things about my podcast that you would like to see changed? Is there things that you would like to see me improve upon or just take out completely? Because that's okay. I appreciate your opinion.
So have a great rest of your day, afternoon, evening.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold the phone. That's my line, Maggie. Back off. Have a great rest of your day, afternoon, evening, night, or
whatever.
She is so annoying. I'm getting a headache. Have a great rest of your day, afternoon, evening, night, or whatever. And happy writing, and good luck with planning your podcast. She's not coming back, is she?